Sunday morning, Memorial Day weekend. Well, with us today is Dr. William J. Parker, and he's been in the Navy forever, and he was also retired from the East-West Institute, which takes conflicts and resolves them, and he's the founding person of the Parker Maritime Technologies, which is doing wonderful things, I understand, on ships. Well, you're one knowledgeable guy about the Navy. You were in the Navy forever. And tell us about the Strait of Hormuz. What the heck is going on? We're looking for different opinions, and give us the pulse of the situation.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, it's great to be back on your show again. Happy Sunday to you and your guests. Look, the Strait of Hormuz is vital, not only to the United States, but around the globe. It's much more vital to China, which gets a lot of their oil out of there, where we're not quite as tied to it as others are. But it still impacts the shipping of goods and services from that area of the world to us. You've got over 2,000 ships right now that are basically stuck, that are anchored out, that are waiting to transit through the strait. And it's not just the time, it's also the fact that you get all kind of growth on these ships and through their water cooling systems. So that's starting to become an impact with them as well. From a safety and security standpoint, it's a major issue, not only for those ships, but obviously for the region. And that's going to continue, I think, to be significant, at least for the short term, for the next month or so.
Let me ask you another silly question. I mean, some of our hosts saying they're getting calls from various places that this is a harder issue than people make it out to be to straighten out the Strait of Hormuz. Give us your pulse. Yeah, you've been in. You know your stuff. Give us your pulse on that.
Yes, sir. I will tell you that it is a very complicated environment to operate in. It's narrow. You have missiles that go faster than Mach, and which means literally from the time they're launched to the time they would strike a ship would be seconds, not minutes or hours. You have a threat of mines in a very shallow and narrow transit area. You have a lot of small boats in there. There's a lot of threats to the ships that are in there. In addition to that, you have the potential for a major environmental impact happening if you have one or two of those ships that are either sunk or they have other damage done to them. So there's a lot of problems, and it is very complex. I will say that the U.S. Navy and those young soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines that are all in those ships, and the Air Force that's flying over top of them right now, just doing spectacular work. Could not be prouder of those people that are on those ships and ashore and how they're operating right now in a very, very complex environment that is, again, very tight on time frame from the time something is launched to the time it actually impacts either a ship or a building, et cetera.
So things are not as easy to fix as some people are making out to be. And some people will say, well, why don't we bomb that island? And my answer is, we're going to have to replace it if we bomb it. I mean,
well, not only are you going to replace
it's not as easy as that. It's not as like bomb it. Somebody's going to have to replace it.
Well, somebody's going to have to replace it. The second thing is that a lot of people that are saying maybe we should just bomb it are the same people that are saying, hey, the environment's important, and the environment is very important. And so you are going to have impacts if you bomb an island like that. And thirdly, that we're not at war with the people of Iran. We're at war with this IRGC. And so the people of Iran are going to need that island and the oil that comes from that island in order to survive financially. So we don't want to ruin all of that either. We learned this lesson the hard way by removing the wrong people in Iraq. And so we don't want to do that again and remove the wrong people or the wrong facilities.
You're 110% right on Iraq. We removed the person in Iraq that was the checks and balances on Iran.
100%. We not only did we remove that person, but we also removed an entire society of people that if you weren't part of that group, you couldn't be a doctor or a lawyer. You could not be you could not be a school teacher. You could not run their oil fields, et cetera. And so all of a sudden, we had to go in and find people to replace them at a very high cost. And we were no longer keeping Iran in check, as you brought up.
Understood. Anything else you want to tell the American people on Memorial Day weekend?
I would just tell them to not just remember those we lost, including a brother of mine and many others, but also that we have to remember those people that are in harm's way to protect the real interests of the United States and the national security interests of the United States. And that's what this is really all about. It's about 47 years of dealing with this issue, and now we finally have a president in there that's trying to deal with it in a way that will not require the next president and the president after to have to deal with it again. Again, this is not about the Iranian people. We've been very close to the Iranian people for a long time. This is about the IRGC.
Thank you so much, William Parker, and have a great Memorial Day weekend, and remember the ones we lost.
Yes, sir. Great being on your show again.